I don't think I have that much time.
Okay, and it seems we're live. We still don't have any other people watching us. We're still in the same mode.
Not here, but on YouTube.
Then you can see somebody joining.
On YouTube. Yep, it seems like we are live. 6 watching now.
And 3 of them is you.
No, just we are not counting in that.
Okay. In that case, welcome everybody to the Webmaster Hangouts in Czech Republic and Slovakia. We are glad that finally, after all the technical difficulties, we were able to start this up. And we are here in the Prague office with several guys from the Czech SEO community. And besides that, we are glad that we can have Gary Illich here calling us directly from Tokyo office. So we are quite international here. And that's wonderful that he was able to join us. And we have prepared several questions on the Google Plus page that you could vote for. And we'll right now do a 55 minutes hangout with Gary with the questions that we'll either read from the Google Plus page, or we will shout out directly from the room. And there is also the possibility to use the live chat on the YouTube link, so that you can ask something else, and we will go through it as well if we are lucky on time. And I will probably ask directly somebody in the room to start with the first question, if you don't mind. So welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Great.
Hi, Gary. I'm Alan. I would like to ask you about new Search Console, about new beta.
Okay.
It's quite awesome, but there are simply 2 basic reports. And can you tell me, or do you have some roadmap where other reports will appear in new beta?
I don't think we have a roadmap for this. I know that the team is working very hard to bring new reports out in the new Search Console in the out of the labs, but I don't think we have a time frame for when they are going to go live. These reports are also important for us. We were looking at a lot of feedback from SEOs, from webmasters, from marketers in general, to learn what they want. And we worked with lots of people to understand what they need. Lots of external people. So what you see is quite literally what people asked us to provide, in a way that our UX designers thought that it's best presented. I don't think that they are all that basic. Maybe you are too advanced. I know that there are some confusions about the reports, which just means that some of them might be a little bit too advanced for the general audience. But yeah, for new reports, we don't have a time frame as far as I know. It might be a few months until you see something there.
And do you have time frame for when you push this data into the Search Console API? Because that's quite of interesting data for us and also for some marketing.
Right. Honestly, I haven't heard anything about the API for a while. I can remind the team that the API is still important for SEOs. So maybe they should prioritize that as well. But to the best of my knowledge, the first step and the first focus is to get as many reports out as possible and as fast as possible. And probably after that, we can work on the APIs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. One more question to Search Console. Can you please explain the differences between crawled, not indexed, discovered, not indexed, and crawled anomaly? What is the difference, especially between the first two? What means discovered and crawled? What is the difference?
So discovered means that we've seen the URL somewhere. Basically, if I crawl page A and I see a URL on page A that points to page B, then that's discovery. If I also follow that link, that URL, then that would be a crawl. That's the difference, essentially. Basically, most of the URLs that we discovered are actually not crawled. There are, I don't remember how many URLs, on the order of hundreds of trillions URLs on the internet, and pretty much the vast majority of those are not crawled because they are duplicates. They have session IDs, whatever. So we ignore most of those. Once something is crawled, then it has a chance to get indexed. Indexing will still reserve the right to decide itself whether a URL will be indexed or not, regardless if it's crawled. Or basically, if something is crawled, that does not guarantee that it will be indexed. Indexing will still indexing still reserves the right to decide if it wants to index something or not. As for crawl anomaly, it's interesting that you asked that question because I think a couple weeks ago I noticed that we say crawl anomaly, and I was myself confused by that because basically it's a catchphrase for both server errors and client errors. So basically, if we couldn't crawl something, then that's an anomaly. I think that we should clarify that, what it means, or rename it to something else, because in my mind, anomaly means something completely different. To me, it would mean something like we crawled at light speed, or I don't know, something out of ordinary. But encountering, for example, 404s on the internet, that's not an anomaly. That's how the internet is, and it shouldn't be reported as an anomaly. I will bring it up again with the tech writer because I agree that it's kind of funny that we call those or group every error as an anomaly.
Okay, Gary, Zdejek speaking. I have a question which is not on the list on Google+. I can see some major sites ranking with internal search results right now. It's been happening pretty much here in the Czech Republic. I know, and I think you should know too, it's forbidden from Google. So why does Google let that happen?
Why do international sites rank in local results?
Internal search results.
Internal search results.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, or there are two kinds of search results. One is useful, one is useless. For example, if we would start to crawl another search engine's search results, that wouldn't be good. That would be the second category, the useless, or the, well, I don't remember if it's first or second, but the useless category. Because essentially we would crawl the the internet again through those search results. It's essentially an infinite space. But then, if you think about, I don't know, in most countries where I lived, the tax office likes to hide documents on their site. And then you can only discover those documents with their own search engine that they run on their own site. In those cases, those search results are super useful, because that's how you can discover the documents that are not otherwise discoverable for search engines. We try to balance this, and it's not a black and white decision. If you see that something quite useless shows up in the search results, then I would recommend using the feedback link or reporting it on Twitter. Basically, you can find John Moo there and just harass him. But at least in the languages, I don't speak Czech, but at least in the languages I speak, I haven't seen bad search results indexed recently, unless it's in a language that doesn't have enough content. So, for example, in Hindi, for example, we don't have enough content. Well, not we, but the internet doesn't have enough content. So if you create a page that mentions, I don't know, green tea, or you have a internal search result page that mentions green tea, then if someone searches for green tea, then your page will very likely show up, regardless if it's an internal search result or not. Basically, because there's not enough content in Hindi on the internet. That's also not a great user experience. But then, if there's not enough content to be indexed, then it's also very hard for us to surface content that could be more useful. So the solution to that is to create content that is more useful.
Okay. So what I can take from this, there are two groups of search rankings, and if I think something is not useful, like you mentioned, other search engines results page, for example, I can report that.
Yes, essentially yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Karim. Here's David. I have a short question about structured data.
Okay.
Does it make sense to implement even structured data which are not explicitly mentioned by Google in search gallery on developers.google? Will it bring some benefits?
Absolutely. I think you will find two kinds of answers to this from Google. One will be that no, it doesn't make sense. The other one is that yes, it makes sense. I'm in the group that says that yes, it makes sense. And the reason I say that is because even if it will not trigger a search feature like star reviews or critiques or recipes or books or whatever, though the structured data annotations will help indexing understand the pages better. Basically, it will help it discover entities in the page and to create links between entities. So let's say that your page talks about product monitor. Monitor as a product, and it has lots of details in structured data, then it can try to build a more useful entity page for that particular thing based on the structured data that you provided.
Okay, so Google works with this data.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, anything that you see on schema.org, even if it's not called out on Google developers, it will be used by or Google search indexing. You might not see, well, you are very likely not going to see like an uptick in rankings for that. Actually, most certainly you won't see an uptick. But on the long run, if we better understand your pages, then we can rank it better for things that it shows up for. You will get better targeted traffic because we understand the pages better. Oops. Sorry.
Gary,
Thank you.
I have another question about indexing, but from another point of view than Zdenda. I think the next big thing about indexation is the mobile first index, right?
Oh boy, yes.
And right now you're moving some well-prepared websites for mobile first index to the mobile first index.
Yes.
Do you have any estimation how long it will take to move all the websites worldwide to the mobile first index? Because for some websites, this is a big thing, and it's really important if you switch all the websites in the next few weeks so they can hurry up with the changes on their side. Or if this is thing about years, so they have enough time.
I don't think we have any sort of timeline for this. In fact, a couple of months ago, we didn't know that. No, actually, in January, we posted on the Google or the Webmasters blog about tips like what are we looking for, and then we ended that blog post with we still don't have a timeline. And then 2 months later, we posted that, oh, actually, we do. So I don't want to give a timeline. What I know is that right now, we don't have a timeline when we start moving more sites into the mobile first index. Actually, it's not moving sites to mobile first index. It's switching them to the mobile first index. We only have one index, not two. It's just which content is indexed in that particular index. That's what differentiates between mobile first and not mobile first index. Anyway, I would prepare, or I would say to clients that in the upcoming months, basically I would try to undersell it, or no, to oversell it rather than undersell it. I don't think it's responsible to say that or in the following years we are going to move sites in the mobile first index. The second thing is that technically everything, technically if you don't have a mobile site right now, then even if we switch everything to the mobile first index, you are not going to see any change pretty much. Basically, you are going to rank the same way that you used to rank. We would strongly encourage that people switch to their site to mobile primary or primarily mobile. Because what we see is that the users in general, are using their mobile devices for browsing the internet. Of course, there are exceptions, like I don't know, B2B solution or banking, whatever that might not need or that might still get more desktop traffic than mobile. But the general trend is that people are using their mobile devices for surfing. So I would rush people to create a mobile site. I think it makes sense to create a responsive site rather than like different mobile site or whatever, or dynamic serving, because then they only have to maintain one site instead of two sites. But
that's the reason why I'm asking you, because I know about some really big websites in the Czech Republic. They have a separate mobile version that is totally not prepared for mobile first index. So for them, the mobile first index is a matter of months. Okay.
For them, I would say order of months.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Gary. I'm sitting in a blind spot now. I would like to ask you, do Google plans to add some separated information about traffic coming from the voice search into the search console? I understand that from the nature of these voice search, that these are related to long tail keywords, so it is difficult to get enough data about it. But I mean, at least some numbers, some percentage of the traffic coming from the voice search would be nice to better understand our audience or users.
Interestingly, we talk about this a lot internally as well. We get lots of questions about this externally, and as a result, we talk about it internally as well quite a bit. And usually the part that stops our internal conversation is when someone asks us, okay, how would people use this data? I asked this question a lot at other conferences where I went to. And honestly, I haven't had an answer to this question yet. Basically, if you have this data, what would you do different? You would probably not do anything different. You would just do the same thing. You are ranking already with your sites for voice queries. I don't think no, sorry. Also, I don't think that at this point you would see that many voice queries that it would make you refocus your strategies, whatever they might be, because of that data.
Yeah, I don't think changing the content strategy completely, but adjusting content, because I think, in my opinion, the users who are using the voice search, are users who wants a quick answer to their problem, but they definitely don't want long descriptive content. So I think it will help us to better adjust our content for users' intents. To know at least the proportion of the users coming from the voice search.
Right. I can bring it up again internally.
Okay.
I don't think it will change much.
Okay, Gary, can I, for me personally, I would like, for example, know how many users in Czech Republic use voice search. We don't know it just now. I think it will be not, for example, in Search Console, but some website where it could be maybe in Google Trends or somewhere, put the data by countries. how many users use voice search in the countries. Maybe it is a compromised solution.
I wonder if there's a site called Learn with Google or with Google something. And I wonder if they have that data already.
I think on
Think with Google.
I think on Think with Google, there are some stats regarding US market. And I haven't seen anything publicly published regarding any of the European countries.
Interesting. They don't have Czech. They have German, Japanese, Pinyin, Korean, Portuguese. Interesting. Yeah, I can bring it up with you, with them. That's actually a quite cool idea, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Perhaps they, or I'm fairly certain that they wouldn't be able to give absolute numbers, but perhaps year-to-year changes and stuff like that. That probably is doable.
Okay. Hi, Gary. Zdeněk here. I'd like to ask about spider traps and how does Google handle them. First example is redirect loops. Second, infinite URLs like infinite pagination. And the third example are filtrations on issues that can generate like several billions of URLs.
Yeah. So, okay, let's start with redirect loops.
Yeah.
There's an RFC that, well, actually, I think it's the HTTP RFC, which describes or gives a hint how many hops, how many redirects in a loop should clients follow, and I think the number is 5. And I think our number is a little higher. I think it's 8. But regardless, we will eventually, if we see that we are just going in circles, then we will just stop and basically will not use that page because it's a redirect loop. Second, which one was the second?
Second was infinite pagination.
Infinite pagination, we are going to stop eventually. So basically, we start going through the pages, and after a few dozen, I would say, we stop. We stop following pages because we are so deep. Basically, we do see the depth of a site, and then we are just going to stop and not go further. For e-commerce shops with lots of URLs, there we will try to guess what are the useful parameters and only use those, and the rest of them would get tuple eliminated against those pages. It's probably better for webmasters/SEOs if they don't let this to Google, because sometimes we do make up, basically we don't know your site the way you do. So the recommendation there is to canonicalize those pages to a single one, basically the most representative one. Or you can also use the parameter handling tool in Webmaster in Search Console, and that way you give direct orders essentially to Googlebot on what parameters can be ignored and what parameters should be absolutely followed. That one, the second option where you use Search Console for controlling the bot, that is probably better, but it's also quite risky. Basically, if you mess something up there, then it's super easy to get your site out of the index completely, because we would start ignoring a parameter that you asked us to ignore out of nowhere. And perhaps that parameter is actually useful for getting new content. So I would double check everything that you do there, or even triple check. And if you see that the number of pages are decreasing, or the number of pages that normally get traffic are decreasing, then go back and revert anything you did. With rel canonical, it's a little easier, or not easier, less risky, I guess, because with rel canonicals, since they are only a hint, not a directive, we might ignore them if we see that they are completely insane. Yeah.
Okay, and how about using hash in the URL to prevent crawling?
Hash in the URL. Generally not a good idea. Basically, the crawler, unless you are using stuff like history API, we are not going to see those URLs. If you want us to see those URLs, then hash is not a good option.
Yeah, I meant it like the solution for spider traps on some e-commerce websites, instead of using canonization or Search Console.
Okay, but if our rendering team, I don't know, overnight figures out how to crawl those pages as well, then you essentially don't have a solution anymore.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Thank you.
And with the parameter tool or with the rel canonical, you would have a permanent, well-established solution.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Gary. I'm Richard. So my question is, how does Google work with social network signs? Do you see it? How do you evaluate it? Is it a ranking factor, especially for Facebook?
Sorry, the first part of the question was very, I couldn't hear it.
How does Google work with social signs from social networks?
I see. Well, this is an easy question. Basically, we don't. That's the answer. We don't use Facebook likes. We don't use tweet likes or tweet loves or tweet hearts. We don't use plus ones. We don't use insert any other social network. The reason for that is we need ranking signals that are reliable on the long run. Imagine if we started relying, for example, on tweet hearts or tweet likes or tweets. I don't know what's that called, but let's say that we start relying on those. And overnight, Twitter restricts the traffic to Googlebot. Basically, we would not see anymore the tweet likes or tweet loves. Our ranking signal just went away, and it went away because of a third party. It wasn't in our control. That's one of the main reasons we don't use social signals.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, me. On December, Google announced that it will stop crawling escaped fragment sites.
Yes.
Pages, and that it will be in second quarter. It will happen. And can you tell us exact term of it?
No.
Okay.
Honestly, I haven't heard about anything since then, since December. I'm assuming that the team is working on deprecating it. I wouldn't wait under a second quarter, which is in 2 days. I would just get rid of that. Basically, make sure that your site is crawlable even without that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Gary, one more question about JavaScript, about lazy loading. What is the best solution for lazy loading? Is NoScript just enough? Because I'm afraid that in NoScript you don't have any context. Maybe you are missing some signal. Is NoScript okay for Google, or what is the best solution for lazy loading?
You mean images?
Yes.
Or,
yes.
okay.
Because
so
I think in lazy loading, Google doesn't see very often the URLs of the images. So how we can fix it for Google?
I'll be honest. This is one of the hardest questions that we've seen lately. We don't have a good solution to this right now. Lazy loading poses quite a few difficulties for the rendering engine that we use. Many times we don't see the images, which is a problem for publishers who would want their images to be seen by Google. And recently we started looking into what can we actually recommend webmasters to do. I would very much want to say that ultimately webmasters shouldn't have to do anything. We would just understand it. But as it stands, that's not going to happen. Basically, we would need to ask webmasters to do something to enable Googlebot to see those images. One of the most popular, or internally most popular solution is the NoScript. I think there was only one negative vote against it. Basically, it's an archaic thing. And we believe that it would work. I think John is going to publish something about this eventually, basically giving recommendations on how to lazy load images. I don't know if or when he's going to publish anything, but until then, or until we, by a miracle, we solve lazy loading internally, I think the best solution is NoScript. Unfortunately, I hate NoScript.
Okay, and could be image sitemap a solution or not?
Image sitemap is a solution partially. With most image sitemaps, we would still want to see the image on the page. It would just help us to prepare, basically bootstrap indexing of the image. But we still want to see that image is on the page, and we should associate that image with that page. It would speed up a little bit indexing.
And if we use the NoScript, then you can associate the image with the page, because I think it was one of the Hangouts with John where he told something like, if Google sees some link inside the NoScript, then Googlebot knows about that link, but Googlebot don't pass the link juice through that link because it's linked in the NoScript. Isn't the same situation with the images?
With images, it's different because the image indexer will extract that URL as well and will associate it with the landing page. I'm not sure about links in NoScript. That might work differently. So I will just believe what John said. But with images, it's definitely working.
Okay, that's great.
And the only reason I know that it's working is that a couple weeks ago there was a discussion internally about it.
Okay, it's Zdeněk here again. I have a question regarding links. I can see a huge amount of catalogish style pages, mostly in foreign domains, that are basically collecting domain information and putting a link on a page. Many people started to worry about those links, if they could have any negative impact. Should we be worried somehow, or can you handle it on your site? Because it's basically low quality link, but if I have a small site with few incoming links, and this could be a huge amount of links coming from Japan, Russia, and so on, am I supposed to do anything with that, or can you handle it by yourself?
In general, we can. In general, we can handle them ourselves. One of the main reasons we had, or one of the main objectives for Real-Time Penguin was to ignore such links, and it's working quite excellently, I believe. So I wouldn't worry too much about them. Perhaps there's something much better you can worry about.
I'm okay.
So you always have an escape hatch, right? Like if you start worrying about it, like I tell you that you don't have to worry about it, and you go home and you don't worry about it. But then, like 2 weeks later, you start seeing like an immense influx of random low quality links, and suddenly you go back there and you start worry again. Then you always have the disavow tool, and you can just get rid of those links if you are worried about it. I wouldn't be worried about it. On my own site and the sites that I have access to and I can look at, there are tons of low quality links coming to them. Sometimes porn links, sometimes from scam sites. And why would Google want to believe that, for example, a link with some really nasty porny keyword should count for my site? Well, it doesn't. Basically, it discounts those links because they are just utterly irrelevant to the site.
Okay, I can agree with that, but I just wanted to hear some kind of confirmation, because I've started seeing agencies selling this as a job, and it costs people money, and I think it's wasted money. As you said, there are other better jobs we can do, so this is why I'm asking.
Yeah, I know many agencies who do these link cleanups. I talked to a few, and I was trying to convince them that like they are not actually doing anything all that great. It's not easy to convince them because it's a source of revenue for them. Yeah, we should be louder, probably.
Not the agencies. Yeah, we have to convince the clients, not the agencies.
Yeah, it's interesting because in certain countries you have the other problem where clients just want to buy links like crazy. Basically, it doesn't matter if you want to create the best site ever and you are the best SEO for creating content and figuring out technical details. All they want from you is just links. And if you don't get links for them, then you are fired. It's interesting to hear that there are like the opposite side as well. It's like, oops, we got links. Let's get rid of them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm down.
Okay, Gary, I have another, I think it's a little bit tricky question, and I'm not sure if I can explain it well, but we all know Google has some algorithms like vision, or that's entity recognition on images, or some great OCR algorithms. But do you use them as a part of the ranking factors of the content of website? I mean, okay, let me give you one example. I have the same content with high quality image, yeah, with some same alternative description, with same title, with same everything. Just on one image is car, and the heading car or something like that, and this article is about cars, and in the other article we have the same high quality image with the same alternative text with the same title, but on that image is, I don't know, train, and the heading train. Is that something that Google is able to recognize on our websites and think something like, yeah, you have this great picture about car, and that's related to your content, so that's something that's point for you, or something like that? Or do you use vision or OCR to recognize if the content of that image is related to the content of article?
You are going to hate my answer, because it's yes and no.
Thank you.
So yes, we have machine vision algorithms. Yes, we use them to understand some images, but it's insanely expensive to run those algorithms. So we only do it on a very tiny fraction of the images that we see. So basically, it's quite unlikely, because we see probably hundreds of billions of images every day. It's quite unlikely that we've used that machine vision algorithm on your images. It's such a tiny amount of or number of images. I'm really sorry. I would expect that eventually this will get better, and we will start using it on more images. But for that, this algorithm or these algorithms have to become cheaper to run, because currently it takes an insane amount of resources to just to process one image. And when you operate at the scale of the web, then it's just not feasible to run them. But I mean, if you try it, you can try this, I guess. If you have an image of if you search for Eiffel Tower, for example, it's very likely that the top images were or went through machine vision, because it's a very popular query, and we want to provide better images there. But if you have something long tail or longer tail, then it's unlikely that those images were processed with machine vision. Sorry.
Yep, understood.
Sorry.
I would like to ask a question on a thing which I've encountered, especially on a fresh new domains. I mean, when you have a page and URL which performs bad in SERP, then I've seen that Google push this page to, I would say, top 3 position in SERP, and it is some kind of measuring how the user will be interacting with this page. If this page is some value for them, and based on this test, the page find its position in SERP definitely. Can you confirm or deny that Google make these kind of tests? Because I think we all heard and seen this behavior.
You know what you get for absolute questions? You get relative answers. I
think, in my opinion, it's a good way how to find quality content even on the new domains without backlink and so on. So,
I mean, we have signals that that we use primarily for new domains where we don't have signals collected yet. But those are much dumber, those signals, than you give us credit for. I will not tell you because they are literally quite dumb. They work, but they are dumb. I think in general, our ranking signals are or some of the ranking signals that, especially those that we use on new domains, are very often very simple. Like when you start involving clicks, for example, then it's basically already overthinking it. There are much easier ways to assess whether a page should rank where it ranks. You don't have to overcomplicate your life.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So basically, like, usually if you ask me like an absolute question, like, can you confirm or deny? No, I cannot.
Okay.
The reason for that is, well, we have multiple reasons for that. One is that it might change. Like, it may be that tomorrow this whole thing will change completely, and then what I said today was completely off. So, like, for example, with the social signals, I don't know who asked that, but with those, I know that it's not going to change tomorrow. So I can just tell you that, no, we don't use them. With your question, the problem is that I have no idea what will happen tomorrow or in a week or whatever. It's a very dynamic thing. When I can confirm or deny something, then I will. But with most of the things, I just cannot do that.
Okay. Can I just extend this question a little bit?
Well, you can try.
It's not about deny or sorry. Sometimes Google, okay, we are talking right now about Google Dancing, and sometimes we see that Google on some queries have some I don't know, or from another side, when somebody searches anything on Google, then on some queries people expect some fresh content like news or something like that. But you have also queries where people don't need the fresh content, like, I don't know, history of World War I or something like that. That's the content where you really don't need every single week a new fresh content.
Right.
Do you have any algorithm that predicts that for this query people expecting some fresh content, so you work with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have an algorithm that, I don't know who coined that term externally, the query deserves freshness. And we do have something like that internally. I don't think that we call it that. I'm almost certain that we don't call it that. But obviously, if we see that there's an uptick on the internet about the Prince William's horse, then I don't know where that came from. Sorry. Then we would try to find fresh articles to surface, because it might be quite relevant or quite important for people to find fresh results for that. The news cluster is a perfect way to see if something should be fresh, something should deserve something fresh or not. But
that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
It seems we have the last 5 minutes, so I think it will be just 2 last questions, right?
Okay.
Are you okay?
I can just answer one in 5 minutes. I'm pretty good at that.
Okay. I found one question on Google Plus, which is quite a lot of pluses. Of course, it's my question. And
Obviously.
I have an issue with no index. I have on several websites no index for months in the HTML header, and still the URLs are in index. What can I do more to remove URLs from index?
So no index, that's a directive. So basically, we always honor it without question. The main reason the main reasons I know of when URLs stay in the index, even though they have a no index, is because we haven't crawled those URLs. We haven't yet seen the no index. And for that, unless there are like hundreds of thousands or millions of pages like that, the easy solution is to do a fetch as Google and submit to indexing. That will trigger a crawl. Basically, it will notify internally the URL, and we will reprocess it. We will see the no index, and then we will drop it. Another solution that I found to be working is that I put all the URLs that I want or that I have no index on in a sitemap, and then that's the only thing I would have in the sitemap, and then submit that sitemap. It seems to work. I haven't confirmed with the team that it should work or not, but it seems to work.
Okay, thank you. Last question.
Can I have the last one? We have only a few minutes. I have a small topic, crawl budget. Maybe you heard of it. Just one simple question: is the time that Googlebot needs to download a page the key to optimize the crawl budget? I mean, I have pages where I can see in Search Console that it takes 1200 milliseconds to download a page, and I have other pages where it takes only 200 milliseconds to download. So, is this the key point we should focus on?
So first, if you don't have too many pages, like not too many, sorry. If you don't have like hundreds of millions of pages. Okay, if you have millions of pages, then yes, you want to worry about this. Yes, time to download matters for crawl budget, but it's changes in aggregate time to download. So basically, if you have like a nice graph that typically is at the same value or around the same value, that's how it should look like. But then suddenly something happens and that graph goes up. Basically, connect time in average on the whole site went up. Then that's a signal for Googlebot to back off, to slow down, see what happens. Will the site recover and connect times or download times even will be better? If yes, then we know that, okay, so that's the new norm, the upper bound. If not, then sorry. If connect time doesn't improve, then we can just continue crawling at that new level. Basically, that becomes the new default. If it improves, then we have to slow down. So yeah, I would pay attention to that graph, to connect and download times, because they matter for big sites. For small sites, it's like
Yeah. I know it's focused only on really big sites.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I have something similar to this. What about curl budget and AMP? Because AMP websites are not normally on our hosting, it's somewhere at Google. Does it mean when I have responsive website and I add AMP website, that means twice for curl budget?
Correct. So if you create an AMP version of your site, then
does it mean that for crawler, that means twice more URLs
Yes.
to crawl?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, I think that with that, we can just conclude that we had many different and wonderful questions, and it proves that Gary was able to either confirm or deny many of them, or say the best what he could. So many thanks, Gary, for joining us for today.
Thank you for having me, and sorry about the technical difficulties. They were totally my fault, not Google's.
No, next time it is going to be way better, and we will be prepared for that. So I think that we can call it a day for today. I see that what is the time in Tokyo right now? It's about 6:30. So I think you're ready for your daily ramen portion.
Yes, very much.
We wish you have a good evening in Tokyo, and we will go and enjoy the sunny day here in Prague.
Thank you. Have a very good day.
Yes,
Thank you, Gary.
Bye.
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 Bye.